What is going on, guys? Jesse504 here, bringing you my WPF week playoff quarterfinals battle. That's what week we're in. We are in playoffs after going 7-3, which I think was quite impressive for myself. I really surprised myself with how well I did this season, and I'm really proud of that. We face Ghost, coach of the Brisbane Zeraoras FC. You can see his team, all his stats. I think I'm going to be doing this for like playoff games, where I really dive in depth to my opponent, their season, give them credit. They're in the playoffs too. They deserve it. And so if you go ahead and look at Ghost's team, you see that his first overall pick here is that beautiful Tornadus Therian. And if you know my team, we just don't switch into this Mon at all. Air Slash or Hurricane plus Heat Wave just does so much that this Torn is just going to be a massive issue, I know, no matter what. And Ghost also enjoys playing with his Torn. I believe Torn is like one of his most drafted mons, and he's done pretty well this season. He's went 6-4, but if you look at it, he was 2-3 after week 5. So he kind of just pulled up and then did really well, and he lost to great coaches as well. He obviously lost to me earlier in the season. I did a little bit of haxing. He lost to Fire Monkeys, who's another playoff coach, and then Jacrispy and Ryan, who are both solid coaches. I don't think they ended up quite in playoffs, but they're still solid. And he finished 6-4, which, I mean, is impressive. It's a winning record, and that'll get you there. And his team really supports that. He's got Sylveon, which is a great Fairymon, super bulky, passes wishes, and this team enjoys the wish pass because let me tell you, reliable recovery is something that this team really lacks. If you look at Torn, Garchomp, Blastoise, Bronzong, there are a bunch of mons that are really great, but they just lack reliable recovery. Obviously, Torn has its regen to get around that, but his team is really susceptible to getting worn down. Up next is his Bronzong, which is really just sort of like a brick wall to my win cons, in my opinion. I'll go over those later during when I go over what I built. But this thing is so good because without this thing, his team is a little bit Edgequake weak. And having this Bronzong here to really patch that up is huge for him. Up next is his Darmanitan, which obviously is just an offensive real machine. It does so much damage off of its Sheer Force boosted, oftentimes Life Orb or Choice Band boosted. Flare Blitzes, it has U-turn for great momentum. It's an incredible Scarfer. 95 speed here means that I have to max speed Lele, which is annoying because then my Lele can't run really any bulk. But this Darm just does so much. Pangoro, this thing is such a good wall breaker. It punches so many holes in my team. Obviously the dark typing is really nice as that is a way to resist the Marowak. And like this team, Marowak obviously it has no good switch-ins. Did I really just say obviously twice in a row? But Marowak has no good switch-ins really at all, but having something to potentially take a ghost hit is nice. Up next we have his Kangaskhan, which is a secondary Wish Passer. I don't think it came ever, but having a secondary Wish Passer is nice just in case the Sylveon potentially gets worn down, because being like the team's pool of health is super important, and having Kangaskhan to help that is nice. Up next is his Garchomp, which I think is his best performing mon. Obviously it is 11-6. This is a mon that really scared me in prep. That 102 speed tier is really nice. It's bulky and it does so much damage, so really having to build a team that Torn T and Garchomp were really the main things that I was considering when I was building. Up next we've got Raikou, which is a very strong Pokemon. Obviously its move pool isn't the greatest, but Electric plus Scald really handles most mons. And then you've got Aura Sphere, Shadow Ball, Subtoxic, Calm Mindsets also work. So this thing can do a lot. Up next, Mega Blastoise. Thankfully it's not Shell Smash, but it has access to a ton of good stuff. It has obviously all of the... It's basically Gen 7 Mega Blastoise with the Rapid Spin buff, which means that this thing can actually sweep. Obviously, it does incredible damage with its Water Pulses, Dark Pulses, Aura Spheres, everything that it does fired off of those Mega Launcher boosted attacks. obviously this thing can do so much, and that's why it's really such an incredible mon, is that it's such a pain to switch into. Thankfully it has no recovery, and Poltergeist does work on Megas, so this thing does take around 90% from a Poltergeist, but what doesn't? Up next is Eldegoss. I don't think this has came to a game either, but it's really just there as a regen, like something else to have regen with Torn. And then lastly is Skuntank, which just came to a few games and done fairly well in those games. So that really just helps him out a lot. The Skuntank is very reliable for him. And if we just look at sort of Ghost's team, like what he's brought throughout the season, Torn, Sylveon, Bronzong, Garchomp, all have 9 games played. I don't think there was a forfeit win at all, but really just all of his mons came to most of his games, which really just shows that he is really reliant on these mons mostly. And like, I believe they all came to the game versus me as well, although my team has changed a lot. And then Blastoise Megas also came to a lot of games as well. But let's just go into what I brought and what I decided to bring. Starting things off, we've got Lele. Specs Lele hits like a bitch. Psychic Surge with Psychic, Shadow Ball, Moonblast, and T-Bolt. Fun fact, Bronzong dies into to Shadow Ball. So if we read that thing coming in, it'll take around 50%. And then without leftovers, it'll guaranteed die. Ghost does like to bring screens on his Bronzong, which means that it might not be holding lefties, which means after a second Shadow Ball, guaranteed dead, which is honestly real nice. Obviously Psychic, he has 2 dark types, but Skuntank and Pangoro, obviously I don't think both can come to this game. I just really don't know how they fit. My guess would be Skuntank as like sort of a Zarude answer, but Pangoro also does well. Thankfully, Pangoro can't punch bullets into Lele at least because of Psychic Surge, which is huge. Moonblast is just here to do damage, and then T-Bolt is here for hitting Torn. I think Psychic does more, but it looks cool to have T-Bolt. Up next, we have Rotom, and I'm going to be honest, Rotom was the last thing to build. Originally, I had a Zarude here, and then I realized Zarude doesn't do anything as much. So for the first time all season, Zarude doesn't come. Shocker, I know. But this Zarude, hopefully he prepped extra for it, which is really nice. Boots on here is really nice. Spadef means that I can try to switch into Torn a little better, but no promises. We've got T-Wave. If I can potentially cripple Torn with a T-Wave, then it becomes much more manageable. Volt Switch for momentum, obviously. Blizzard just to hit. Blizzard plus Volt Switch does a ton to his team, and then Pain Split to potentially heal a little bit back up. I just didn't really need anything else. I might have wanted Wisp, but I already had T-Wave and like, you know, that kind of shit. Next, we've got Junior the Keldeo, Scarfed, Justified, Flip Turn, Hydro Pump, Secret Sword, Icy Wind. Icy Wind wasn't here to do damage, it was here to potentially slow things down for a clutch late game situation where it's like potentially, like, let's say Keldeo, Lele are the last 2 things alive into like Torn. Torn, obviously, I don't think it wins that either way, but like, let's say it's like nasty plot Torn. It just set up on something. It just set up and killed my Rhyperior, let's just say. Now, all of a sudden, we've got Icy Wind, and our Keldeo, in his last breath, will be able to throw some Icy Wind, and now, all of a sudden, Torn is slow. Torn is slower than our Lele. We win. This is a completely hypothetical situation, even though I've already played. That's just kind of why Icy Wind is what I wanted. Up next, we've got our Mega Scizor. Scizoroid, obviously Technician, SD, Bullet Punch, Bug Bite, and I was like, yeah, this is nice. Do I want Roost or do I want U-Turn? And I decided that I wanted Momentum Spam this game, and then I took off my Zarude, but I replaced it with Rotom, which still is Momentum, because I really want Momentum into this Marowak, if I'm being real. This thing just does so much to his team. SD, Bullet Punch, Bug Bite, U-Turn. Speed was to Creep. He has a base 80 that doesn't run, or Speed was to Creep. Blastoise running a little bit of speed, just so I can do more damage with my Bug Bite. And then, yeah. Up next, we've got the Whack Attack, Marowak, Rockhead for the ability, Sub, Poltergeist, Flitter Blitz, EQ. Let me tell you something. No switch-ins. Everything takes like 80 to 90, and when his team doesn't have the greatest recovery, boom, Marowak domination all game. Speed was so that we were faster than... It's a great question. We were faster than something. That's all I remember. Maybe it was so that we were faster than... Let me look at his team once more. I believe it was speed for no speed Sylveon. But yeah, I could be wrong, but I believe that's how I invested. So we could just bop that thing Oko with Flare Blitz, Poltergeist, and EQ. Obviously, lastly, not today. The Rhyperior, Weakness Policy, Solid Rock, EQ, Edgequake. Like I said, massive. Plus Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is really... I just picked a random move, honestly. I click it into the Blastoise. It doesn't even do more than Earthquake. I just had it because I didn't really need anything else. I just wanted a 100 accuracy move for late game, potentially against the Torn. You know how it is. You know my vibes. This speed plus 2 outspeeds Torn by 1, which is really nice. And then obviously 36 HP, just because that's what we had left over. And sort of the path to victory here is damage, damage, damage early game. And hopefully between Lele and Marowak, the Bronzong will be heavily weakened along with a couple other things. We want to be losing our Marowak to a lower health Garchomp. And I think that's where my real win con is losing Marowak to a Garchomp. And why I want to lose Marowak to Garchomp is afterwards, with the Solid Rock ability and the Weakness Policy, we set up a Rock Polish in the Garchomp's face, take around 50 from the EQ it back, and now all of a sudden we're ready to win the game with this Rhyperior. And the only thing that we needed to do is weaken Bronzong. That was really my game plan going into the game. I don't know how we're going to get there, but eventually we will find our Rhyperior in front of a Garchomp. Click Rock Polish. Good game. But that was my team builder, and I'll see you guys in the battle. Alrighty, so we are at lead matchup, and if you know me, you know I love leading Scarf Pokemon with momentum. So guess what I lead? I lead my KELDEO. I was expecting maybe a Torn lead. That thing is a great lead, although he could be running like a more offensive variant. I could also see a Garchomp lead to try to set up rocks, or maybe he, like me, enjoys Scarf U-turns, which is what the Darm could do. So yeah, let's just get right into that. But he actually decides to lead Pangoro, which is incredibly favorable for me in my opinion, as he actually just hard switches into his Bronzong, and I can flip turn on that and get out into my whack, and boom, something's getting weakened real hard. I can click sub, and now he has to break my sub. I forced him into an attack. He clicks EQ, and then I just go for a Poltergeist, and boom, he loses 96%. That is crazy. He switches Sylveon in as I go out into my Rotom Frost, and here I just Volt Switch, sit in the Calcs for a second, and just go out into my Lele. It's Lele time, bitch. As he fires off a Wish, and here I know 100% Bronzong's coming in. Bronzong coming in hot, takes a Shadow Ball, goes down 50%, gets Spit F dropped, and now, boom, is healed back up by the Wish. I just Shadow Ball again. I didn't expect him to stay in, if I was being completely honest. And I also didn't 100% expect him to have Steel Stab, but he does. So we take those, and now we go out into our Marowak, and now you're giving me something else. I'm clicking Blitz here, as his resist at this point is Darm, which doesn't really switch it. He goes Darm here. At this point, it's a roll for me to live Earthquake, although I probably wouldn't. I believe I only have like a 12-ish% chance to live, if I'm being honest. But Marowak did his job, and I actually disturb his Slackberry. And do you know how shit it would have been if I switched? I think I lose the game on the spot. No, I don't. Depends if Scizor can break a sub. Otherwise, yeah, I do just lose the game on the spot. It's ridiculous. because I would have to flip turn KELDEO in and out a bunch of times, and then eventually he'd be knocked behind a sub. But we just get quaked, lose our whack. I'm more than happy to make that trade. Go KELDEO, and then being able to flip again is huge. He goes onto his Bronzong, and he's at like 2% now, and I figure it's time to do the thing. I Rock Polish as he gets off one Parting Reflect. I probably shouldn't have let him do that, but instead I go for the Thunder Punch, knock out that Bronzong. He goes out into his Pangoro, and here, I mean, I have nothing better to do than click EQ, as he actually reveals to go for Knockoff, and I didn't really expect that, but he reveals to be Bandit, so now he has to switch, otherwise he doesn't kill. So we actually take out the Garchomp, and at this point, Pangoro has to come back in and raw CC me, but I didn't really want to lose anything else, so we Quake, he CCs, and then we take damage, we go down, and the Reflect wears off, and I was like, really? No Light Clay? I probably could have just spammed Rock Polish and run into that Bronzong. That's unfortunate. We Hydro Pump, and at this point, like, I'm just going to pump things repeatedly. He goes Torn. I expected him to just raw kill me, but I think I had that endgame locked up no matter what. He actually just plots in my face, and he goes Darn, sacks that off. Yeah, I'm pretty sure because this thing was the set it was, I had endgame locked up. But now that I look at it, I wasn't 100% having it. We pump. He stays alive on 3. He Hurricanes us down, and then boom, Scizor comes out. Mega Bullet Punch. Bada bing. Bada playoff W. Your Chicago Cinders have made it to semifinals. Opponent not yet determined because we played early in the week. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this. I think I put out great energy in this video, but if you think I did poorly, just let me know. Looking back at this replay, I think my end game I potentially could have thrown. I was like thinking about it in my head, but as soon as he went Torn, I knew I had it, just because I knew Hydro did so much. But yeah, so that was my game. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, Jesse504 out. Peace.